I am not a lawyer, and nothing in this video or series constitutes legal advice. The information I provide is for general understanding and discussion only. Always consult a qualified attorney for guidance specific to your situation. Hi, this is Michelle from LMA, and this is video 3 of our series on the DTC Ban deep dive. The intention of the bill is to use the concept of misbranding of drugs and devices to make direct-to-consumer advertising illegal. This video takes a deep dive into what is currently legally considered as misbranding by the FDA. Consider the following 33 definitions of misbranding today, labeled A through GG, and see how many of them actually deal with branding or misbranding versus other laws and regulations which are categorized, probably for convenience, under misbranding. As we go through the list, evaluate whether all DTC could ever really be considered misbranding. Does all DTC fit on this list? U.S. Code 352 defines misbranded drugs and devices. Section A, a drug or device shall be deemed to be misbranded if it has a false or misleading label. There's an exception for healthcare economic information provided for payer, but only for approved indications. B stipulates the drug or device must contain a label with the name and place of business of the manufacturer, packer, or distributor, and an accurate statement of the quantity of contents in terms of weight, measure, or numerical count. Some reasonable variations are permitted, like in the case of a very small package. C requires that the label must be conspicuous and in such terms as to render it likely to be read and understood by the ordinary individual. D was repealed, so we don't know what that's about. E addresses naming conventions for drugs and devices. Drugs and devices are considered misbranded unless the label bears the established name. There's a very distinct definition of established name. The section includes details as to how the brand names and ingredients are to be labeled. F directs that labels must bear adequate direction for use and adequate warnings against use in conditions where it could be dangerous, like in certain pathologies, certain populations, or dosages. G states that a drug recognized in an official compendium must be packaged and labeled as prescribed in that compendium. H states if a drug is liable to deterioration, it must be packaged in a form or manner to protect public health and must be labeled as liable to deteriorate. I says a drug is misbranded if it's an imitation of another drug or offered for sale under the name of another drug. That seems to me very clear misbranding. J says it's considered misbranded if the drug is dangerous to health when used in the dosages, manner, frequency, or duration prescribed in the labeling. K and L were repealed. M states that packaging and labels must conform to certain requirements if color additives are only for the purpose of coloring. N deals with prescription drug advertisements. All advertisements need to have established name, formula with all ingredients, brief summary of side effects, contraindications, and effectiveness. O states that all drugs must be from registered establishments. P states the drug packaging or labeling must not violate any applicable packaging regulations set out in Title 15, which you can find online. Q deals with device traceability. R is for restricted devices. The manufacturer, packer, or distributor must include in all advertisements and other descriptive printed matter the established name, a brief statement of intended uses of the device, and relevant warnings, precautions, side effects, and contraindications. S states that devices subject to a performance standard must bear labeling as may be prescribed in such performance standard. T states that a device is misbranded if it fails to comply with any requirements prescribed for safety and efficacy statements. U states that a reprocessed single-use device must prominently bear the name of the manufacturer of the reprocessed device or have a detachable label with that information. V states that a reprocessed single-use device must prominently bear the statement reprocessed device for single use. W specifies requirements for new animal drugs. X says that non-prescription drugs must include a domestic address or phone number through which the responsible person may receive a report of a serious adverse event. Y stipulates that all drugs subject to a RIMS must comply with that RIMS. Z deals with post-market studies and clinical trials and relates to new safety information in labeling. AA defines a drug as misbranded if manufacturing fees are not paid and for which identifying information has not been submitted. BB labels a drug as misbranded if the advertising or promotion is false or misleading. That's very straightforward. CC says a drug must bear the product identifier. DD says that antimicrobial drugs must adhere to specific antimicrobial labeling requirements. EE talks about non-prescription drugs and how they must comply with non-prescription drug requirements. FF says drugs are misbranded if they're manufactured, prepared, compounded, or processed in facilities for which fees have not been paid as required. GG states that product information prior to approval must be clearly labeled as investigative, including details on the stage of development and status of ongoing studies. Consider whether the proposed DTC ban really fits under this category of misbranding. Even though there are already some stipulations in here that deal with advertising, I'm not sure that a complete ban is completely aligned with the idea of misbranding.